Once we are able to assess the consumer or the buyer's readiness stage, then we move towards designing an effective message. And to design an effective message, we need to understand that we have to decide about the response that we want to generate through this communication process. So once the communicators they decide about the response that they want to generate through this communication, they turn towards designing these messages. And when they are designing these messages, it is like what they want to say and how they want to say. So what is going to be the message content? And when we are talking about how to say it, it talks about the message format and the structure. So marketers they usually follow this AIDA model, this framework, to basically design these effective messages. They try to basically get the attention of the target audience, and then they try to hold their interest into the advertisement or whatever messages they are drafting, and they try to arouse this desire. They try to infuse the liking or the conviction, and then finally they take the consumer towards generating a certain kind of response in terms of their behavior, that they want to obtain certain action from this whole communication activity. So now let's look into the message content. So message content is basically about what theme or appeal that will produce the desired response. So we need to understand that our consumers are entirely different, and their motives when they are watching these advertisements are entirely different. For many products, we are very much concerned about the quality of the product, the economy, the value proposition that it is offering. So for the people, those who are basically looking forward towards the benefits, the functional benefits that the product is offering, or the information related to the products, are those consumer to whom these rational appeals will really trigger. So it relates to the audience self-interest. So when consumers they are looking for the quality of the product and all such things, they are uh, someone who will be taking their decisions on based on rationale or logic. So they are looking for the benefits, for the value proposition, or for the customer value that the product is basically offering them. Now, there are other types of consumers, and there are other types of products in which companies they go for using these emotional appeals. So it's an attempt to stir up positive or negative emotions to motivate a purchase. And here, what basically companies they are doing, they are capitalizing on the consumer emotions, and we need to understand that they attract more and attention and create more belief in sponsor and the brand. So it's basically they want to try to capitalize on consumer emotions to create a bond between the company and the consumer. However, we need to understand that in many commercials we have seen that there are narrations, there is storytelling, and that stirs up emotion in the consumer. And then finally, we have this moral appeal. Moral appeal is basically directed at the audience sense of right and proper. So, in many advertisements, we have seen that companies they go for these moral appeals, and they are often used to urge people to support social causes such as a cleaner environment or aid to the disadvantaged, or their messages basically who are trying to discipline more people's life. So we need to understand that marketers, depending upon the type of product they're offering or to the type of consumer they're dealing with, they opt among these appeals.
When I grow up, I still want to walk in the mornings,
Run in the evenings.
play my way through 18 holes.
When I grow up, I still want to dance freely.
Keep up with my grandkids.
When I grow up, I won't feel like I've grown old.
With 40% more calcium than regular milk, plus vitamin D to help you absorb it. Physical. Stronger bones for longer.
ये मैं ये यूसुफ लंगोटिया यार सी मेरा लाहौर में हमारे घर के सामने एक बड़ा बाग था। उस बाग का गेट बाबा आदम के जमाने। रोज शाम को हमने वहाँ पतंगे उड़ानी और उसके बाद जाके यूसुफ के दुकान से जहरिया चुरा के खानी।
झझरिया।
और मेरा साहब नमस्ते।
नमस्ते, मेरी पोती मुंबई वाली।
और बेटे क्या हाल चाल है?
बचपन की तंग गली फिर से कूदे फांदे, छोटी छोटी मीठी चोरी गांठ लेके बांधे।
हेलो, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
फाजिल स्वीट्स।
हाँ जी। दादाजान, दिल्ली से किसी की कॉल है।
हेलो,
यूसुफ अंकल।
कौन?
जी मैं सुमन बोल रही हूँ दिल्ली से, आपके बचपन के दोस्त बलदेव जी की पोती। याद है बचपन में आप दोनों झझरिया चुरा के खाते थे?
बचपन की तंग गली फिर से कूदे फांदे, छोटी छोटी मीठी चोरी गांठ लेके बांधे। एक पतंग सा उड़ता था परिंदों की तरह, परिंदों की तरह, परिंदों की तरह। एक दौर था मन मन मोर था, एक दौर था मन मन मोर था।
पार्टीशन के वक्त हम रातों रात हिंदुस्तान आ गए।
दादू,
यूसुफ दी बड़ी आजादी।
कागजों की कश्तियों में डूबा रहता था, झांकती खिड़कियों में उलझा रहता था। वो भी क्या दौर था, मन पे न जोर था। एक दौर था मन मन मोर था, एक दौर था मन मन मोर था।
भैया थोड़ा जल्दी।
मन मोर।
हाँ जी, कौन? हैप्पी बर्थडे यारा। यूसुफ, यूसुफ ओए, ओए यूसुफ, मेरे बल्लू, ओए, यूसुफ यार।
So now, as you have seen example of an advertisement in each category, now let's talk about the finally about the message structure. So once communicators they are done with designing the message, they start working on the message structure. So there are three different issues that are pertaining to the message structure. These communicators they have to decide that whether to draw a conclusion or leave it to the audience. So many times they think it's better to leave a question mark or to leave a question for the audience to answer. And at times it is basically they have to decide whether to present the strongest arguments first or last. So if they present the strongest argument initially in the start of the advertisements, they capture the attention at once, but then what happens that they don't have any climax by the end. And the third question that they usually ask is like whether to present one-sided arguments, like just focusing on the strengths and positive sides of the product, or a two-sided argument touting the product strength while also admitting its shortcoming. So it's basically you have to understand the type of audience that you are dealing with. If they're highly educated and really want to know about both pros and cons, then you should go for this type of message. So now when these marketing communicators they decide about these message formats, they should go for a very strong message format. And here what we need to understand that in print ads, the communicator they has to decide about he or she they has to decide about the headlines or the caption that they are going to use in the advertisement. These captions or the headlines are very important because they are the first one to catch the consumer or the target audience attention. Then they must decide about the number of words they are going to use in the copy or the body text, how much information that must be placed, the size of the information, where it should be placed, and then the illustration, the picture that they're using, should it be reflective of something, or should it be kind of an element of design complementing the entire advertisement, and what kind of color combinations they must use. So in an advertisement that is appearing on your screen, they have used this brown, orange and yellow colors, which are basically the colors of the brand. Now when companies that are going for the television or video, they must incorporate motion, pace and sound. So every communicator must carefully craft these advertisements from start to finish. They must carefully look into the detail, what is required, how it should be placed, how it should be projected. So we know in television it's also about the expression of the people, those are working in the advertisement, the story that is going to be narrated, or the type of appeal that need to be incorporated in the advertisement. So there are many things that need to be incorporated into that. And we also know that companies they're using going for these radio advertisements, they need to understand that the voice, tone, pitch, all these things are very important, along with the words that they are going to use and how those words are going to be pronounced. So for every format, there are different things that need to be taken into account. And we also need to understand when messages that are to be carried on the product or its package, the communicator must watch the texture, scent, color, size and shape. So all these things, all these elements of design, all these elements of a good advertisement must be taken into account, must be carefully crafted and synchronized with one another to create an effective advertisement which can be a very lasting advertisement. It remains a part of the memories of the consumer, and it must bring out the intended objective, whatever the intended objective of the firm.